Gruesome Magazine.
Hello again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are looking at a sci-fi thriller called Oxygen. This is going to be exciting. It is streaming now on Netflix. Let's talk to the crew, starting with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and I got plenty of oxygen. So
there you go.
Ready
there
to
go. So it got his O2. All right. Also with us is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead girl. What you got?
Hi.
Hi, my name's Crystal.
I may have been close with that ridiculous comment.
I'm not trapped in a box. I don't know. It's really bad, guys. I'm sorry. I have failed you.
Oh,
and I'm still crooked.
Too much.
Oh my God! So, but glorious fashion. All right. Also joining us is my buddy from H&R, Dave Dreher. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, you didn't run out of oxygen, Doc. That's very good.
Nah.
That was awesome. I was actually going to break into Love is Like Oxygen by Sweet, but I decided not to.
But I am down to 23%. So.
Oh, 23%. Oh boy.
You're hurting now.
I shouldn't have said anything.
Those gauges are just like your gas tanks, you know. It'll say 50 miles, and then 10 miles later, it'll say 10 miles.
There's extra. They always
10
put
miles
extra
will
in.
last 50 miles.
Yeah, they always put extra in.
Yes. All right. People listening have no idea what we're talking about. We'll get to it. All right, we're talking about the movie Oxygen. Let's look at it. Oxygen on Netflix, available starting May 12th, which means it's streaming now. The director is Alexandre Aja, I don't know. Aja. But he did the Crawl, right? That's one of the recent films that we like.
Yeah, Crawl, and the Hills Have Eyes remake.
Yep.
High Tension.
Yep.
A
very talented director. So this is, but I don't know if he's known for sci-fi thrillers as much. So this is interesting. All right, the cast includes Mélanie, Laurent, Malik, Zidi, and Laura Boujenah. I cannot do French. I am so sorry. They'll kick me out of Canada, I'm sure, or at least the East Coast of it. Synopsis: a woman. Where am I going with that? I don't know. A woman wakes up in a cryogenic chamber with no recollection of how she got there. She's running out of oxygen, and she must rebuild her memory to find a way out of her nightmare. It is a very interesting and ingenious plot, if you ask me, and I'll be very excited to see what the rest of the crew think of. But what we're going to do is give our first impression, and then we're going to talk about the film a little bit. We'll dive into some spoilers then. We'll try not to spoil the whole damn thing, but we're going to have to because some of the key moments will be in spoiler territory. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But let's dive into this, which means that the one and only and Jeff Mohr is up first. Jeff, what was your first impression of Oxygen?
I like it. I thought it was a good science fiction film. Sometimes it's hard to make these, basically one character. You know, it's like the equivalent of a closed room.
It is very much so.
Puzzle in a way. She was more like a coffin, pretty big coffin, but anyway. So she's stuck in this pod and she wakes up and trying to figure out how to get out. And I just thought it was great. I thought she was phenomenal. Mélanie Laurent. And I agree. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. I keep trying to find these how to pronounce websites, but they're too weird.
They're too weird.
Well, it's like I got to go through 5 or 6 of them to find one that actually shows a phonetic. Otherwise, they just want you to play the sound, which I can't do while I'm on here. So anyway, I'm sorry. She was really good, and she's really the only character. I mean, we see a little bit of her husband. The other main character is the computer, right? Milo is. Yep. She communicates with a couple other people via phone, but I liked the science of this. I love the acting. I love the look of it. I thought the ship was really original looking, and I loved. Spoilers. Sorry.
Keep going, keep going.
Sorry.
Oh.
Christie just got it.
I don't have anything.
No,
else.
I was like, oh, yeah.
It was
There's
good.
no goes
And
backsies.
There was good. There was good science and logic. I thought all the way through, as far as what I could tell. So, hey, and lots of tension and lots of emotions and
Yes.
and even some action. I mean, we even get some action in there.
Yeah, and it certainly had urgency, right? Right.
Oh, yep.
And you probably recognize the lead actress from *Inglourious Bastards* from 2000.
Ah, I knew that's okay.
Shoshona.
Yeah, she was Shoshona.
Yeah. All right. Up next is the one and only Dave Dreher. Dave, what was your first impression of Oxygen?
Oxygen. I really like Alexandre Aja as a filmmaker. Been following him ever since High Tension. He takes on all kinds of weird projects. I mean, he did the Piranha 3 Double D movie, I believe.
Well, he did. He didn't do 3 Double D. He did not do that one, but he did do the other one.
Okay, I was gonna say he did a Piranha movie, I know, which was kind of goofy.
I think he did.
No, he did 3D, not 3 Double D. 3 Double D is the sequel to 3D, and it's very cheesy.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I mean, he's been all over the place, and I remember when his Hillside Have Eyes remake came out. I mean, when that came out, everyone was like, "How dare you remake a Wes Craven classic?"
I know, but he did good.
He just freaking nailed it. And him and that guy he works with, the name I'm going to slaughter, I can't. That Lavoisier guy, they work on everything together. And so I was kind of hoping that this was going to be really good, and it was. It was really, really a good movie. I was on edge the entire freaking time. And like you said, Doc, I mean, it's basically just all her laying in this medical coffin, basically, as she tries to figure out this mystery of why she's there and who she is. And, I was just on every word, and the whole time the oxygen's running down and you don't know what's going on. It was stressing me out. I was getting stressed out.
Yeah.
So, and it didn't disappoint at the end either. I mean, they very easily could have dropped the ball on this one, but I even liked the ending of it. Yeah. This is a big thumbs up for me on this one.
Big thumbs up. All right. Crystal, what is your first impression of Oxygen?
So I also really liked it. I thought it was shot beautifully. I think it's very witty and clever how simple of a concept this is. With as simple as a concept that it is, you think, oh, okay, there's not much to it. But there's some moments where there's flashbacks, and also, so it's still a really ambitious project overall. I found the story really enjoyable. I liked the way it kind of turned out. My biggest issue with the story is that they clearly tried to draw it out some, because a woman of her intelligence would have figured out a lot of the things that took her a little bit. I know they had the memory fog. It's kind of irrelevant to me. There were some things that were said that should have led her to know where she was in her story, because, I mean, we kind of can figure it out. So that was my only issue, but I get it. It's a movie. They kind of needed to draw that stuff out. I like the way that everything wrapped up. I think it's kind of sweet, kind of bittersweet in a way, but it really is to me, it's kind of a happy ending. So I like happy endings. I'm totally about the happy endings. So yeah, I found it enjoyable. I think the acting was great, and yeah, I really loved some of the shots. I think it's really unique. I enjoyed it.
All right. Now it's my turn.
Yeah. Yay!
All right. I thought it was a breath of fresh air. Good night. No, I was riveted. I wasn't really sure what we're going to get into, because it felt like it was going to be a one-note movie, right? She's in a box, she can't get out, right? And what are they going to do with that? Well, they had a lot planned for us, and the way it was presented and the back and forth between her and Milo I mean, even that has a relationship, and it's really bizarre that happens. But there are other voices because what's really cool is in the cryogenic thing, they have the ability to make outside calls and get out, as she eventually figures out. And we talk to a police officer. We talk to an unknown voice when she's trying to relocate her family. And it's so it's really intriguing, and it gets you going. You're trying to figure out where is she on the, because at one time she thinks she's underground, or where is she at? And the police are trying to locate her. They're trying to go to the company, and there's this big mystery, and that mystery unveils in front of us and in front of her. And what they're trying to do, and I bought into, and I know where Crystal's going because there are holes in it, but at the same time, we are on the same level she is because she wakes up with no memory, right? Mm-hmm. So we're in the dark, she's in the dark, and we're all learning together. So the lead character is actually a surrogate for us, and that doesn't happen often, right? It's usually a tertiary character, right? That's hanging out with them. It's a supporting character that we're kind of going along with, right? And but here's the lead, at least for a good portion of the film, and by the time it's not, we're invested. And I think it's for this closed environment, this little teeny pod, it's the how they ended up getting different shots and stuff. You felt like you were in there with her, and it was really well done. It's amazing. I really think he outdid himself, Alexandre here. We were talking about his films. Horns is a really interesting film if you've never seen that.
Great movie.
And Mirrors, you might debate on whether it's actually a good movie or not, but some of the scenes in that movie still live on today. You see those scenes being played out in, on memes, and people talk about them, so the guy is a visionary. And this film, I really loved Crawl last year. And I think this film's even better. I really think he did.
It's different.
I like Crawl better. But I think this is better directed. I really think this is terrific. I think it's really wonderful. I would
debate you all day long about that because I'll tell you this: for a movie like Crawl to be as good as it was, this movie is a little artsy fartsy. Let's be real. It's a little experimental type. So I feel like that's
it's also timed properly. I mean, it could. I don't know if it was. We've all been trapped in our houses for a year, right? Mm-hmm. And this was probably made before that, so you didn't know. So it's probably all coincidence. But we can all relate to not being able, wanting to get the hell out of where we are. Right?
I don't know. I kind of feel like this could have been the perfect pandemic movie to make because, short of a few scenes, there's not much. But what's interesting is even though she's in such a claustrophobic space, I thought this is going to be so hard for me to watch because I'm not. But he shot it really well that I didn't feel claustrophobic, thankfully, because I wouldn't have been able to watch it. I don't.
Right. Not like what's the one film where the guy's in the coffin for the entire movie?
Buried, the one with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's the one. It's not claustrophobic like that. I get claustrophobic too, and I didn't feel that.
Yeah.
Although I did feel
trapped
and enclosed, right? Yeah. I mean, I've been more claustrophobic in an elevator, and this is much smaller in an elevator, so it helps that there's lights and that they have screens.
Milo.
And Milo is a big help as well. But I gotta know, Dave. We've talked about obviously this really isn't a horror film. It's very much a sci-fi thriller. Although there are some horrific elements. There are some nightmare-ish visions sequences with rats. There are some dead bodies perhaps floating around, so it does have some horror elements in it. But so sometimes you react kind of against that. Is it because it's so heavily sci-fi that you didn't care, this was fine?
Yeah, I mean, I think this would have played out. she could have been in anything. I mean, she could have been. This could have been the same. If that coffin and buried had all the apparatus that this had. I mean, she was able to communicate. She was trying to figure out where the hell she was.
Right.
You know, she didn't know. She had no idea where she was at. If all she could know, she could kick that door open and just step out and be fine. You know, except for Milo going, I don't think I'd do that if I were you. You know, but you know, they're very careful not to even hint at where she actually is. So it is kind of a shock when we finally see.
Oh my God, that's a great scene.
You know, and the enormity of it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just works. This is a perfect blending of a really good story, great acting on. I'm going to call her Shoshana because that's how I remember her.
Sure.
You know, on her part, and just really great inventive directing by Alexandre Aja. So,
I think so.
You know, it was just a good combination of all those things. So, I liked it. Doc.
Yeah. Jeff, now you spoke about it being tense because we're literally on a Hitchcock clock here, right? Where you've got 23%, you've got 45 minutes until you're out of air. And we know this is a hour and some odd movie, so there's, you know, we're going to be there. So elaborate on that a little bit, what it felt like.
Well, I mean, I was sort of like, whenever there was like a discussion going on where things weren't like boom, boom, boom towards the end, you know, to achieve that goal, I got really anxious. I'm like, time's ticking. The gauge is going down. Come on. What? And you know, some of the stuff that she was at the mercy of what was going on with the police, who kept saying they're doing something, and I'm like, well, that ain't gonna happen fast enough. Come on, there's got to be some other solution. Don't wait for them. So
well, and she's always thinking though too. I mean, she's you know a lot of times Milo won't answer her questions just because she doesn't word them properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So she
exactly
has to say them in a certain fashion so the computer will actually answer her. The computer knows the answers. She's just not asking the question right. And I thought that was great. In that tense situation, I'd just be like,
was.
Yeah, I'm just going to lay here and shit myself. I'm not going to. You know.
Yeah, I would not have made it. I don't think I would have made it. No.
Oh, and when the little robot arm comes out, that was freaky. Freaky as I thought. It was way too fast. I mean,
way fast. Yeah.
Most robotic stuff doesn't move that fast because of their fear of hurting somebody.
Yeah. Well, not even there at the end. And again, careful not to spoil anything there, but there at the towards the end when we watched the IV being administered, and that was just like, oh my God! I mean, I was like a diehard moment. You know, it was like one of those fucking diehard moments when you're, you know. So it was good. It was
ticking
just
clocks.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah. It just had me on edge the entire time.
Yeah, I absolutely I think that's what I reacted to. I was really into the moment. I was into her thought process. I loved how she was figuring it out. You know, and some of this stuff is what Crystal, what you're talking about, didn't necessarily work for you. I think is, you know, she would look at her, you know, the magazine, show me the magazine articles. Then it said, show me the social media, and I was watching it and I was getting clues to kind of help me figure out before, you know, they told us that. I didn't go to the extreme that the movie did, but I figured out that
the main parts, of course, like it was so obvious to me. I was like, come on.
Well,
come on, you know.
The one phone call the one phone call she made, and she got the woman on the phone, and the lady was like, don't call back here. Or whatever.
I knew then. I was like, oh,
yeah. So that was kind of a turning point for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, me, it was, the pictures show, there's a lot of pictures of her. And if you pay attention, some of those pictures will clue you into some time gaps. I was just saying that make it impossible for her to be, you know, a certain something. But
yeah, she was active on social media 3 days before.
I know. But, so I found it very interesting. But I would say that actually made me more invested because I wanted to find out what the answer was, because I didn't know what the answer was. But I
didn't know exactly where she was.
Right, but I knew that I knew where it was going, but I didn't know what it was going to be like when she got there. So it's a different kind of thing, and I think for me that actually made it better for me because I wanted to know. I wanted to know. So
I need to know.
And there was something else. There was something else I considered, but I'm not going to say it because then it'll give it away. But I had a different theory for a bit as to why, but I was happy with the why.
I did too. And we can talk about it offline because there's a couple clues in her memories about, because we find out very quick that she's a scientist and she's experimenting with rats, and then there's a couple little things that don't look like rats and give you kind of an idea that maybe something else. And then she wanted to have children, and there's all kinds of these different clues that point you in different directions. And then of course with her husband, the Leo character who we see throughout the film, and there's various things that happen to him. I mean, there's a number of different directions you can go to before you get to the answer. Really exciting. So Jeff, was it, you like the WTF things? Is this a WTF?
Yeah, only in a way that I felt like I like the way you describe it, in that we're learning things at the same time that the character is. So we're trying to piece it together. So there wasn't, for me at least, there wasn't a big smack in the face, where I went, WTF. But it was gradual little ones all the way along the way. Oh. And I'm kind of with, there was something partway, yeah, I'll stop because I'll say something.
I'm worried about giving it away too. I'm like,
all right. Well, we don't want to do that. So we'll go ahead and stop here and wrap things up. We'll give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Before we do, if you've been watching and listening to this review, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying this and the many other reviews that are on the site. We hope you check those out. If you would like to help us out, it's really easy and free to do. You just hit the subscribe button or share with a friend, and that will do wonders. Yay. Wonders, I say. And of course, we want to hear your thoughts. Put those in the comments down below. We want to take a quick moment to thank our patrons over at Patreon. Without their patronage, we wouldn't be able to do the Gruesome Magazine podcast or Horror News Radio, Decades of Horror, and Hero of the Droids. So you know who you are, and we love you very much. Thank you for helping us keep this afloat. Thank you so much. All right, let's do it. Our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. And Jeff, you sir are first.
Well, yeah, I think you got to see this if you like science fiction. It's pretty good. There was one part where I remember thinking, in terms of a solution to her dilemma, she should have been able to figure that out sooner. Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, she was oxygen deprived. So that stuff doesn't work. I'm giving this a 4. And I just thought it was, even though you're in this tight little spot, it was really a detailed design. And like you were talking about how it was shot, the angles that it was shot from, helped you to see what was going on, I guess. My favorite scene, I'm sticking with the when the robot arm comes out. That might have been my WTF moment.
Yeah.
So nice. As fast as that thing moved, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That thing's gonna hurt somebody.
Well, I mean, I guess you think that usually the person inside the module is immobilized, right? So
right. Well, in a way, if it's that's why it's science fiction.
Yep. Well, there you go. Yeah. It could be anything it wants to be. All right, Dave, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
Like this a lot. This is one of those ones that you can't get into too much detail with because it's going to give everything away, and we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to say, watch it. It's on Netflix. It's there now. It's worth your time. My favorite scene was also as Jeff with that fucking arm that came out. I was like, whoa, hey, that thing's moving way too quick. But since he chose that, I'll go with the other, which I've already mentioned too. And again, being careful not to spoil anything. But there's a scene where our lady is getting an IV, and and
yes,
I mean, I literally like stood up in the thing, and I'm like, go, get it.
I know, and she's so slow too. I was like, oh my god, come on, seriously, get with it, girl.
Well, she can't sit up. I mean, she has got
no.
You know, right?
I mean, but we see here, you know, it's just a perfect combination of watching the you know, that Milo counting down, and we're watching her struggle to try to get where she needs to go, and it was good. It was just good. It was one of those moments where I was down in my movie room watching it. And my wife yells down, goes, "What the hell are you doing down there? This damn movie!" So yeah, I liked it. I'm also going to give it a 4. I think this is a really a good movie, and it makes me excited for even more Aja in our future.
Yes, we need that crawl too. He's teasing us about.
Yeah.
All right, Crystal, you're up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
I'm also giving it a 4.
Wow, I wasn't sure you were going to do that.
It's not a horror movie, but it's a good movie. Like I said, the what bothered me wasn't enough to upset the movie. I get it, so I was okay with it. Does it bother me? Yeah, but even as I work through the story in my head, I'm like, well, there's only a few ways where you could. I always think about what could have been done, and I really don't have any better ideas. So at that point, you have to kind of go, okay, it is what it is. I love Milo. I just loved him, and her apologizing to him. I've mentioned this already, I think twice or something. I love that scene. She's like, I'm so sorry for hating you. And I laughed because I totally get it. I felt that.
Yep.
And he's like, it's okay. Or whatever. It's funny. Yeah.
Take him 14,000 hours. All right. Yeah. Good job. You go, Milo. Keep going. All right. Yeah. So I had a ball with this. I was a little bit apprehensive. I thought I was going to get bored silly because of the just it being contained. And I was like, man, how's this going to keep me interested? And it did not take long for me to get sucked right into it. And I was entirely riveted for the full length of the film, and I was watching every little thing that flashed on the screen when they were watching it. I was hanging on every word. I was like, when they heard the voice in the background, I was like, what's that voice saying? So it was and when she started having the little visions, with all the rats in there, I thought when you those are the horror movie elements. I mean, he brought horror movie elements into it, like all the rats and some other things that happen are very horror elements in this. But it totally is a sci-fi movie. But I think I think it's a sci-fi film that is more geared toward horror fans than maybe like a Star Wars is. It's definitely in that gray area where they can cross over. It's, for me, it was a blast. And the actress is phenomenal. The direction is phenomenal. The set design, with what it is phenomenal. I mean, it's relatively simple in that respect, but it also very, it's entirely believable that that's what this contraption would do. I never went, no, bullshit. I never did. I totally said, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it could wrap you up in. Anyway, so I was totally bought in on it. So I'm going to give it a 4 1/4.
Oh yeah. Okay.
A little bit.
I kind of might. It might be hanging on to the top 10 for me at the end of the year.
Really? But see, does it count that that's not?
I don't know. So I don't know if it's a crowded.
It counts if you say it counts.
Yep. If it's crowded, it's going to be an honorable mention. But if it's not, if it's lean,
I think it's already going to be crowded.
It's going to be crowded.
Yeah.
But if not, I would put it. I do want to say that before I give my favorite scene, that I think this would have been played great in a theater.
Oh yeah.
I think so, if this was on the big screen,
I agree.
I would totally be sucked into it. So my favorite scene is when they reveal that the roof of this contraption has a filter on it,
Oh yeah, of
a
course.
screen, and that screen gets pulled away, and I gasped. I was like, oh shit.
Okay, that's one of the things I had a problem with because I'm like, really? There's one, and it's right there.
Well, okay, yeah, that, but even I mean, that's really not what I'm talking about. But I did.
I
Like
know
that.
what you're talking about.
I actually did like that, but the whole the visual of I was like, oh my god, and they play on that for the rest of the film too. You know, with like number 42 and all that. So there's some really cool things, and the whole Liz thing, the naming of Liz is kind of fun too. There's a lot going on that you really it's interesting that this basically voice, it's just an AI, somehow ends up with some emotion in it, even though there isn't. It's just in what he's
there
saying.
isn't. Like right? Whoever the actor was delivered it right, but it felt like it was emotion because we want it to be.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, because he concedes, right? But he concedes in a logical fashion, right?
Exactly.
Because she said it in the logical way for him to reveal the answer or to comply, but it comes across as compassion and emotion, and to me that's fascinating.
Of course,
that's kind of layered
because that's what I love how we as humans put that on.
Inanimate objects and voices.
The actor's name is Matthew Amalric. Yeah,
he's got a sweet little Milo voice. I don't know why I love like AIs and robots, guys. I am all about that life. I am like, they are people to me. That is all. I don't know.
Well, there you go. That's our review for Oxygen, streaming now on Netflix. So I think we're all saying, you have Netflix, go watch it. It's going to be a good time. Thank you for hanging out with us. Crystal, Dave, Jeff, as always, thank you. This was a wonderful discussion.
Excellent.
Totally.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Let's say goodnight.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.